I am jumping on to do a reading, and the first thing coming through is the concept of dark and light. So they're saying in order to take flight that sometimes we need to understand that it's not so much about the spectrum of light as it is like determining um, what we see as good and bad. We don't need to be paying attention to necessarily the spectrum of light that we're on, but just the concepts of what we have decided is good or bad, and not like define them as light and dark, because those things don't really necessarily fit that. Like they're saying, be creative. So this is about being creative in our way of thinking. So like trying to think outside of these confines of defining factors, to say that like regardless if you are light spectrum or dark spectrum, that you have the full range of emotions. So to say that like anger is not dark, as happiness is not light, and understanding that those are just concepts and we ebb and flow through them. And what is really matters here, what really matters is the concepts that we have decided between right and wrong. So not putting those and dividing them. Like when we talk about defining factors, I talk a lot about how like we have like looked at cats and said, okay, those are for women, cats are for women, and dogs are for men. And it's like, well, number one, a cat and a dog isn't necessarily the opposite. It's a very similar concept. These are emotions, and they're not clearly saying, okay, well, mad is that's a bad one, and happy's that's a good one. And then we try to say, okay, well, this light is good and dark is bad, so these are the light spectrum emotions and these are the dark spectrum emotions. So we need to get rid of those defining factors because they're not working, and they're getting to like trying to get more centered, and that's what we're trying to get to, is trying to understand and begin towards a more centered outlook of understanding and accepting all of you in all of your frequencies and all of your forms, because we ebb and we flow. We can't be in a constant light frequency, high frequency, go, 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 or we crash and we burn out and then we fall down into a lower frequency anyway. And we should allow ourselves to process through, regardless of what we are going through, like with these spectrums of lights is what they're trying to tell me. So like the phases of the moon, we'll have our bright, high frequency days, and we need to hold awareness that we are going to come back into our darker days. So during our light days, there should be a processing and being like, I really appreciate and I'm very grateful for the things that are happening right now, because I know and remember the days that I conceptually saw as dark. But then when you're in your darker days, knowing that like I I can appreciate these days more, and then also understand that like it's not going to last forever. I'm not going to be here forever in that ebb state. Just because it's an ebb state or low frequency doesn't mean it's a bad thing. A lot of it is just understanding. They're showing me like a vacuum cleaner, so like it is all about awareness and experience and like taking in all the information we can so we can determine those conceptual goods versus bads, and trying to understand and navigate who we want to be. Overall, that's what this is about. We're trying to develop these concepts of what we see as good or bad so we could decide who we are and what we want to be ideally. So it's about that journey and experience. Yeah, and sometimes they're talking about sometimes we have to just wipe the board clean because we're like, I don't want to go that direction. And that's okay too. And that would be more of your ego death, and then coming into trying to find that more unique version of self or more authentic. So sometimes we realize we want to get rid of the masks and we want to more align with that unique, authentic version of self, and not let us be confined by our past or our past conditioning. Okay, so I'm going to pull some cards here. Interesting. So I'm having a hard time opening the box, and that signifies to me that we might be having a hard time coming into feeling like we're coming into an awakened state. When we are struggling in general with our concepts of dark or light, or like good or bad, or like trying to figure out where we fit, we might not think that we're going through our awakening, even though we are. The maze is the awakening. It's understanding there is a maze, there is a journey. I feel like it's this one, and then I'm going to pull this card after. So what is this one? So this is force. So air, and then force, and it is upside down. So we're struggling with trying to force things. So we think we should be moving and flowing like the air in our ebb and our flow, but we're trying to force things. And that's part of why we don't feel like we're coming into this awakening, is because we are trying to force it versus letting it flow. And then this next one is Sea Star. I'm going to pull out from the book for this, because the thing is, I can definitely see that it's a darker tone. And all I'm given here for a psychic prompt is the shells. But then it says Sea Star, which doesn't make sense to me. So sometimes we have to open up a manual. But sometimes trying to process through finding the true meaning versus trying to see at a surface what you think something means. The Sea Star says, tiny treasures are at your feet. Remember to look for them. Mystery and lovely treasures are all around you. There is beauty in even the tiniest grain of sand, for the light of the stars is eclipsed in the shells and shores in oneness. Each object contains a soul and its own journey in the earth's plane. Let the ebb and flow of life cycles happen around you and within you. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, I'm getting shivers. Oh, my guides. They're like, see? So all I saw was darkness. All I saw was the dark. And it says Sea Star, so I was having a hard time trying to connect that. But it's saying, like, zoom in further. Zoom in closer so we can see the beauty at that up close. Like, sometimes we lose things because we aren't looking into the details. We're only looking on a surface level, and we're not diving in deeper to see the grains of sand and those actual shells and beauty, like, in the sand. That sand is not just like grains of rock. It's not. If you look up, guys, look up like what sand looks like under a microscope. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And I think that that's what that card is trying to say. Okay, so I feel like this is a two cards here again. I feel like this is a together message, so I'm going to flip them together. So this is, it's not a race, guys. We are struggling with trying to rush. So again, forcing it, rushing it. We're trying to rush our healing. And then this one is, we're losing our uniqueness. We're falling into that conditioning, which we were just talking about. So when we try to rush our healing, when we try to rush things and we try to force things, then we lose this uniqueness about us. We lose that beauty within us because we're trying to push through and try to rush things. And so we lose ourselves in that, and we don't get to see the beautiful beauty at the depth. We only get the surface, which is the mask. This is my Lost in Translation deck, so I'm going to pull it. I call it my Lost in Translation deck because it doesn't have the psychic prompts on the card, and then I have to use the manual. So they're talking about stagnated growth. Two cards again. Okay, so we have the Road Warrior and the Feathers. So Road Warrior and Feathers. Road Warrior is 2/7, so that is balancing phase. So we were talking about the phases of the moon. So I definitely feel like that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about, but let's dive in and see. Take a leap of faith. Bravery, change, trust, vision, and achievement. I imagine that this darling duo, the Mad Max type characters, about to make an epic journey of a lifetime through an inhospitable desert landscape in search of fertile land and a new home. They aren't sure what awaits them on their journey, but they have confidence in the preparation that they have made and the skills that they possess. Take a leap of faith involves stepping outside of your comfort zone with the beliefs that you can make big changes to improve your situation and life. These changes may involve new locations or a shift in your personal and professional life. A leap of faith requires belief in yourself, a trust in the vision of what you are aiming to achieve, and a willingness to face the fears. Jump off the cliff and learn how to make wings on the way down, which is really interesting because the next one is Feathers. So this one, develop self-confidence. So interesting, we were just talking about self-confidence in the other one. Confident, independent, positive, and assertive. Being assertive. This portrait depicts a character who is strong, independent, confident in her own abilities, and proud of her individuality and achievements. She's not going to let go of that unique self. Having self-confidence means being comfortable with who you are. It is having belief in yourself and your abilities to meet life's challenges. Gaining confidence is strongly related to how we react to the things that are happening in our lives. There is plenty that we can do to alter our thoughts and expectations to gain more confidence, including ignoring the haters, acknowledging the positive, be kind to yourself, forget the past, and stop worrying now. Be assertive in communicating your needs, feelings, and opinions. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good that we often might win by fearing to attempt. So if we're afraid to start, then we're not going to. So I think that this is definitely about like just knowing about having that self-confidence and knowing that you are a unique individual, and that you don't need to force things. You don't need to rush them, and you don't need to force yourself into a mask or something that doesn't align with you and lose yourself in the process. These are upside down, so it's saying that we're lacking the self-confidence right now and the belief in self, but like it's to point it out so we can have this awareness so we can pull it back. So that way we can work on it. So that is like to be able to see the beauty. Like she's going through the desert, the sand-full desert, and saying it's not fruitful, that it's not fertile. But the thing is, we just learned about the sand and saying that if you looked up closer, it is. It's just that perspective is surface. We need to go deeper and not be okay with just surface value self and surface value perspectives. Remove the biases. All right. Thanks, guys. This is kind of a long reading. We'll see what I can fit.